When the new God of War game was announced, the naysayers claimed this is not God of War, Sun Simulator 2018, this game is gonna flop. The result was a game with the most innovative combat system since Devil May Cry was released, and a story that would even put The Last of Us to shame. So the question must be asked, did they bring it for the boss battles? Short answer, absolutely. Now, were they perfect? No, but they are worthy enough to deserve a list. So here are all the God of War boss battles ranked from worst to best. First on our list we have the second encounter with Baldur. Midway through the game, Kratos and Atreus are about to enter a portal to Helheim when suddenly Mr. I Feel Nothing shows up and puts a damper on the party. Then the actual fight begins as Kratos takes the fight on top of Baldur's dragon, and it becomes really clear why this is ranked last. The fight is nothing more than a quick time event, although the quick times are inspired by God of War Ascension's superior mechanics and do not rely on just a button prompt like the older games. I still wish the fight would have a little more gameplay, but I get why they did it this way. This moment was more about story instead of mechanics. Whoa, I can't believe I complimented God of War Ascension. Okay, so if you've seen my list of the best realms of the game, you notice how much I praised Helheim for its beauty and its mystery, and how much I disliked the final boss battle of the level. Well, let's continue the roast. After turning the light switch in Helheim, Kratos and Atreus have to face the commander of the Dark Elves, and it becomes evident that this is not the fight the game had been promising you all along. Before this, we had seen glimpses of the commander ordering his troops to attack, attempting to steal Atreus, and so on. My mind was overflowing with happiness in expectation of the fight. But when it came to it, it was an elf with the same abilities and moveset as his minions. Literally, you could take his title and give it to somebody else, and it would still be the same. It also felt like he had no connection to the story, since the studio hasn't explored this idea of a civil war in Helheim just yet. So it would have been better if he had shown up in later games. Now that I got rid of the two untouchables of the game, let's get to the good ones, starting with the Bridge Keeper of Helheim. After Atreus gets a little drunk with power and wears himself out, Kratos has to journey to Helheim to retrieve the heart of the Bridge Keeper. And well, let's just say that he's not willing to part with it so easily. He's different from the other trolls of the game, as he's more integrated into the story. He is charged with the task of making sure no one is alive in Helheim, which immediately results in conflict when he meets our very much alive Kratos. The troll proves to be a formidable force against Kratos, as he integrates new moves like disappearing after attacks and causing waves of frost that slow down Kratos. And yes, I know this is more of a mini boss fight of the game, but I just couldn't ignore this epic encounter. When the new game was announced, I was a little afraid of the big changes happening, like the camera switch and the new weapon, but I was confident enough that Santa Monica would come through. But one thing that really terrified me was the first boss battle. The God of War series has always prided itself on delivering the very best right at the beginning, and they didn't disappoint. I don't know if this is the best intro boss of the series, but it's pretty darn good. I love how the fight revolves around the mystery of who this guy is, as he is simply referred to as the Stranger. The fight is just about showing you both ancient cultures clash with each other, Olympian versus Asgardian, as they both pull some sweet moves like hitting home runs with 3 logs and epic Dragon Ball Z attacks. The fight shows you that a boss doesn't have to be giant in order to be epic, as these two lay waste to the arena in epic proportions. The only reason this fight ranks so high up in the list is because it doesn't pose that much of a challenge, and that's understandable since it's the first one and it's still trying to teach the player all the mechanics of the game. Now the same can't be said about the next fight. Sigrun takes the prize for being the hardest boss fight, not just of this game, not even this series, but some of the Dark Souls games too. She doesn't mess around. She initiates the fight by scraping Kratos' bald head against the pavement. The reason she poses the greatest challenge is because she has all of the other Valkyrie's abilities. The fire, the ice attacks, the stumps. She puts all of these moves in a creative way that will leave the player pressing X to replay the fight again and again. I'm not exaggerating here. If you face her, you will die. That's a fact. And even though you will die hundreds of times, it's still one of the better fights of the series that requires players to really think and strategize how to beat her. And that's where the beauty of this fight comes in, as every player will approach the fight differently. I went in on the offensive, throwing all of my rune attacks at the same time and then waiting for them to recharge again. Others may use items and grant them health or speed. All I know is that this is the most rewarding boss to beat in the entire series. Okay, so let's back up a bit. If you remember just a little while ago, I said that a boss doesn't have to be big in order to be epic. And that's true. The fight against Baldur will go down as an epic power struggle between two gods. But when it comes to Herazel the dragon, I'm so glad the developers took all the screen to depict his prowess. The fight consists in dodging, attacking his legs, and using the explosive tree sap to blow up his face when using electricity attacks against you. It may sound simplistic, and it is, but it gets the job done, as it always keeps you on your toes, running back and forth the arena. It's also the only fight of the game that tries to emulate the older fights, like the Colossus and the Guardian. Think about the first stage of the fight when they are going up the lift and the dragon sticks his head in to attack. The whole part is identical to the first stage of the Hydra battle, where she sticks her head in trying to bite Kratos in half. This part caused some serious nostalgic feelings. It even tries to recapture the craziness of the older games, which has Kratos flying across the air to kill a monster, way too big for any normal size person. Even though this fight seemed the most out of place, since this game is all about seriousness and the responsibility of a father to his son, it's still good to know that Santa Monica has a little crazy in its DNA. If I had one little complaint, it would be the lack of Atreus in the fight, as he always stays on top protecting Sindri the whole time.
Surrender. The All-Father demands it.
No.
Good.
Now, if you really want to put the God of Thunder in a bad mood, you only need to kill his two sons, Magni and Modi. I really love this fight. These two characters weren't around that much, but I still found them to be extremely interesting. Magni being the muscle who likes to attack up close, and Modi shooting projectiles from a distance. It's like a bizarro depiction of Kratos and Atreus, as Kratos will take on Magni the muscle and Atreus the range enemy. It makes for interesting moments when they both cooperate with each other, like Atreus shooting an arrow before Magni headbutts the player into oblivion. In between stages, you get this interactive QuickTime event where it has Kratos and Atreus back-to-back dodging incoming attacks. This section also serves as a moment to get more background information as to why the brothers are after them. Even Mimir gets a line or two in the conversation.
Sons of Thor are welcome to try.
Head!
Sorry, overstepped, yeah?
The fight gets progressively harder as their electric attacks get more intense. By the end, Magni will be throwing Modi into the air for a ground smash. This fight should be taken as the blueprint for future God of War fights, as Atreus and Kratos grow stronger together. Now, when it comes to final boss fights, I'm always afraid to what the developers are going to do. Some of them are just QuickTime events. Really? Far Cry? A button prompt? Well, I'm happy to say that the final fight against Baldur is the best final boss fight ever created. All the elements that make the game great come together to leave you breathless. By the end, Kratos and Atreus will be so leveled up that you'll feel like you can take on Superman. That's not to say that it will be easy, as Baldur learns that he's no longer immortal and wants to beat them even more. He will always keep you on your toes as he changes elemental powers on the fly. When he turns to ice, you'll know it's time to pull out your trusty Leviathan axe. When he turns to ice, you'll know it's time to show off your Blades of Chaos moves. This mechanic keeps the fight really entertaining till the end, as you never know when he's going to change. On the side of story, it's really incredible what they did, as Freya finally learns who their enemy was all along. It was her son. Dun dun dun. Well, she's not really fond of the idea of killing him, so she too enters the fight as the third party who wants to stop them from tearing each other apart. First, she'll only use vines to trap them both. Once those stop being effective, she starts controlling a dead Jotun to get in the way of the fight. That makes for some sick moments. The fight also serves as a final challenge for Atreus' training, as he went from struggling to shoot a deer to this. This fight is really awesome, I can't stress that enough. Okay, so now that you know where I stand on the bosses, let me know in the comments section below who were your favorite bosses. If you liked the video, give it a like and share it on Facebook, Twitter, whatever you use these days. If you love bosses like I do, you might want to check out my list for Shadow of the Colossus, or maybe some of my other videos. And that's it for today. Goodbye.
Ah!